All right. Everybody knows we love Dogtra, dogtra.com. The YS600 bar collars, the 1900S black. That's one of Ted's favorites. Check them out, WDR10 for 10% off a single item over $200. That is dogtra.com.
Hits Canine for handlers by handlers in Chocolate City for 2024. New Orleans 2024, August 21st to the 23rd. Hit them up. Hits Canine, letter K9.net. Don't wait till the last minute to sign up.
We have a great relationship with the folks down at Kinetic Dog Food. They have a great balance of healthy meats, grains, and is made specifically for working and sporting dogs. Check them out, kineticdogfood.com. You will not be disappointed. They are great.
Hey guys, be sure to check out Ray Allen Manufacturing's new training app that they've got, iTunes Store and the Android Store. New product collaborations. Be sure to check it out. We also got a new discount code RAM, R-A-M-W-D-R, RAM WDR for 10% off, rayallen.com. American Aluminum, best inserts in the game. Hit them up at Easy Rider Online. That's the letter E, Z, rideronline.com.
Brand new advertiser, guys. Rec Specs. We love them. They believe that any adventure, work, or play is better with a dog by your side to keep them protected and with you no matter what. Rec Specs designs and manufactures performance-driven dog gear for the active and working dog. 20% off your first order. Discount code Working Dog Radio.
All right, we are back. Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. I am Ted Summers from Tulsa, Oklahoma, as always. With me from Canton, Ohio, is Eric. Eric, what's going on, man?
Just the usual stuff. I just got back from Washington State doing my e-collar without conflict for working dog seminar. I had a great time.
You had dinner with Ken Pavlik, huh?
I did. Yeah, it was a good time.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, this is the weirdest thing. So this training group put me at a really nice hotel down on the waterfront in Everett, Washington. Really nice place. So Ken picks a restaurant that's literally 100 feet from the hotel. And it's called Fisherman Jack's. I'm like, cool. I told my wife, I said, I'm going to meet Ken at Fisherman Jack's. Hopefully they should have some good seafood, right? We're going to have good seafood. And, dude, I go there. It's got nautical theme, ships and all that other shit. It was a Chinese restaurant. No fish at all.
What?
No. I had Szechuan beef and broccoli and some shit like that. Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
No, it was not a Fisherman Jack's. It says
we're gonna get some
fusion.
fucking hate mail.
It was Chinese food with Sapporo beer. That's all it was. So I think Sapporo is Japanese, but
okay.
So yeah, so I just got back a little bit ago. I've got another one of the seminars at my place, the Funhouse, the 6th to the 8th of December. That should be pretty fun. A smaller group than last time because I forgot most of the departments in Ohio, the budget ends at the end of December, so nobody spends money in December. So I'll do it again in like April and have a packed up group. But the guys that are coming, we're going to get a lot extra, so we'll be able to do a lot of stuff. Oh, dude, two of my guys, you've met CJ. So CJ and Damon,
right?
That were both ex-cops. They got out of law enforcement to work for me on the pet side. At the Funhouse, they took over a room at the Funhouse and built a high-end, legit golfing simulator in there. Like, I went there today. It's got a lock on the door, code open up. They got big screen TVs, a bar. It's pretty crazy. I was like, shit, I thought it was going to be like, some bullshit. No, it's high-end projector. I said, boys are making some money doing boarding trains.
They're like, I'm paying you guys way too much. What the fuck?
But it's cool, man. So, because I know Damon is, CJ's a good golfer, but Damon's a scratch golfer. So, gives him a chance to get better. Because now it's winter here. It's 24 degrees today. So, yeah. So, what's going on in Tulsa?
I'm getting ready. I have a huge handler school starting in January. And the state of Oklahoma just, like our post or OPOD or whatever, our post is cleat. They just made a mandatory minimum class length before you can even apply to get your letter to test. And they've been doing a lot of things. They're cracking down on a lot of things that they should have for a long time ago. So now the days are done where you're getting a a week-long handler school and then going to test. And so they're making a minimum length, which ours meets that and has for years. But I think it's good. So January 1st, I have the first class of the year for that new standard, and I've got like fucking 20 teams in that class for So we're working on all those green dogs right now and have been for a while. So and then I'm gonna have some of our state certifiers who are also some of my handlers come in to help instruct on some of those days, because I've got a mix of dual and single purpose, so we've got to split the class and stuff. So it's going to be interesting. But a quick note on our Patreon thing. So we were very successful with the Patreon program, and we had a lot of people sign up, but it is the most cumbersome platform, and it has become extremely difficult for us to use. YouTube has offered a similar thing, so that's what we're moving over to. So if you're listening to this, head over to just go to YouTube and look for Working Dog Radio. It's right there. You can watch video versions of the podcast like we're doing right now. But Eric and I just uploaded 21 videos of bite work detection tracking. Some of them got me and you in them, and then you just uploaded a 3-hour deal on your conflict without, or e-collar without conflict thing.
Yeah, it's basically me going over my PowerPoint and what it's like being in the class, just not working dogs, but going over all the things that I talk about at the seminars and the conferences and everything. It's pretty good.
So yeah, just go look Working Dog Radio up on YouTube, and it's easy. You sign up and subscribe there.
Cool.
And you get behind the paywall. Yeah. So anyway, now that the housekeeping shit's out of the way, who do we have tonight?
All right.
Again, from when did we decide? Before we started recording,
April of 2018, like April 23rd, episode 11.
11.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. We started
back in the
February.
day.
I think we were.
That's when you were sitting in your closet.
Yeah, I think we were using tin cans and a rope.
Probably
back then. So we brought on, if you go back and listen, our good buddy Benito Olson is on from Patriot Dog Training. Guy. So we started talking to him because we had heard rumblings that Benny was writing a book, and so those were true. And he just showed us. He got his first copy. If you check out Patriot Dog Training, you can show that there. Yeah, take a look at that. The Underdogs. Whoop whoop. Nice. I love that picture in the front.
Thanks. It's been one of the anytime anybody ever texts me, they're like, "Hey, I saw your picture."
Yeah,
like,
the picture. Yeah, that's the dog that looks like he's stands 9 feet tall in that picture.
Yeah, mini horse.
Yeah,
yeah.
So anyways, Benny, glad to have you back on, buddy.
Thank you.
It's been a while. We were talking off camera or on camera, but off recording that back when we got in, we had Benny on there. He's one of the, if you remember, Benny was a Master at Arms chief, right? When you left, Chief Petty Officer?
Yep. Yes, sir.
He was a dog handler attached to Tier 1 unit there in the Navy. If you get his book, you'll see on the cover the government blacked out a number. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
It's stupid, but whatever. Nobody knows it exists. I think there's a movie called that. But anyways, and he was the first person that we knew that came out of kind of the working dog world and was like, screw that, man, and did the pet dog stuff. And I remember us talking, I don't know if it was on air or off air, but you're like, dude, I'm telling you, this is where you got to be headed.
Yeah.
And Ted and I were like, fuck that. And now I closed my kennel just in August, and I'm not even providing working dogs anymore, and doing pets. And Ted's about, I don't know, probably 50-50 now, like pretty big on both sides.
Yeah, I still focus heavily, almost exclusively on the working dog side. Yeah,
because what you like.
Right.
But, when we were grinding out our businesses and everything, the pets is what, kept the lights on and everything. And I remember, I think about that every once in a while. I go, I should listen to Benny in 2018, because I started the pet dog business of us on a small scale in 2018, like two.
And you just opened your second location.
Yeah. So. Like 2 trainers. Yeah. And, so anyways, you kind of lit the fire under me, going, because you seem to be doing pretty freaking good.
It's going well. Yeah. I mean, it could always be better, but with staffing and whatnot, you guys know, the pet industry or animal industry in general, just the turnover with the pet world and, just dogs in general, like people get burnt out
Yeah.
and, um, yeah.
I think I read somewhere, somebody told me that for the dog world, it's 2 or 3 years. If you stick past that, you'll stay. If not,
Yeah.
you're out. You're going to burn out, especially the board and trainers that take the dogs home every day. That's 7 days a
Yeah.
week, all day and night. I get it.
You take yours home?
I don't. Well, I have enough people now that I don't train any of the dogs. I just run the business and I jump in.
Yeah.
So I have dogs that stay at the facility and trainers on the
Yeah.
facility, and then I have outside trainers that train board and trains. So I'm at the
Cool.
facility all day, every day, helping out there. But anyways, so the one thing we didn't get to do that we like to do is we didn't really get into like your upbringing that much. So the book is called Underdogs, right? And
Yes.
basically, it sounds like your whole life, like underdog, shouldn't have succeeded, shouldn't have made it to where you made it, shouldn't have made it inside the unit that you made it in, shouldn't have succeeded the way you did, shouldn't have survived the story that we did talk about in the first episode of the house exploding and caving in on everybody, you and the dog, and you shouldn't be here. Like you shouldn't be moving and walking and talking and or even alive. And so
Yeah.
it sounds like you've had to deal with that your whole life. So let's go all the way back to remind everybody where you're from and kind of talk about that underdog part of your young life.
Sure. Yeah, and again, like the whole underdog thing, I don't want people to read my story and be like, "Oh, poor me." I want people to see that there's those were all building blocks to
Yeah.
get me past my ultimate test in life. So yeah, man, I grew up in Sault St. Paul, Minnesota, a little cow town. It's not like that anymore. You know, every time you wake up in the morning, walk to school, you can smell the stockyards and, yeah, just a small town. I grew up there, all the way up until 18 years. My mom ended up leaving as soon as I graduated a couple months later and moved to Alabama. So I was like really on my own. But yeah, I grew up in Sault St. Paul, Minnesota.
Did you have animals? Did you mess around with it like that?
Man, every time we had an animal, it was usually a dog that a family member had come into town or they lost. Like we had this little poodle named Cuddles.
Mm-hmm.
We inherited him because the family had to go back home, and we ended up finding the dog, 2 weeks later, and they were like, "Hey, just keep him up there," I don't know,
Yeah.
one of those things. We had a Dalmatian, but man, I tell you what, those dogs are crazy. I mean, no offense to anybody who owns one. I haven't seen one in a long time. It seems like that trend is gone, but we owned a Dalmatian, and it was, I don't know, the dog was wild. I wasn't really a dog person. I'll be honest with you. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a dog person up until I got in the Navy and started seeing the working dogs working.
Yeah. We it's funny in my place we have a guy that comes and he has 2 Dalmatians. We train both of them. One looks standard white with black spots. The other one is, I'm telling you, is black with white spots.
Wow.
There's so much black on that dog, and they're not bad. They're okay. They
Yeah.
trained up real nice. But you're right. Um, I tell you what, in probably the last 4 years we've done 3, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, not very many of those.
I haven't done any.
And 3,000 German Shepherds, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, like everybody. So, mom moves out. She's headed to Alabama. We didn't mention dad.
Yeah. So my mom and dad, they were never together. I mean, they were together when they had me, but,
Mm-hmm.
my dad was essentially 18 years old at the time when I was born. So he was a kid, I talk to him now, and he was a kid trying to have a kid, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Raising a kid. And, so he really wasn't around. And, my mom had these random boyfriends and stuff like that, you know, kind of crazy sometimes. I had one that, she broke up with him, and he launched a chair into our first floor apartment window, and the cops came and everything. It was pretty bad. And, so we had that. And then I had my stepdad, who started off great, but he ended up, being an alcoholic, into drugs, gambling. I write about it in the book. He went gambling one time, and lost a bunch of money and was drunk and went to somebody's home, burglarized it. Just stuff like that. I remember him coming home, after he did that, they came to our house. The FBI actually showed up because he took some of their prescriptions. Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Christmas time, they had to unwrap all of the presents under the tree. And, as drunk as he was, he actually had wrapped some of that stuff. You don't know what people are thinking when they lost a bunch of money and they're drunk. And so, that kind of made me focus not being that way in life. I'm not a huge gambler, don't really drink. So,
How old were you then?
I was 14, probably 14 or 15 when that happened. But going back to my dad went to prison right when I was going into 7th grade. And, he got caught up in money laundering and just a drug dealing. He was mixed in with all of that. And he got sentenced to about when I was 18, right when I was getting ready to graduate. He got out. And at that point, I really didn't want much to do with him because he wasn't there during my teenage years. And as you know, as a man, how important it is to raise your boys and your girls, especially in those years. And didn't really have that. I didn't have it on my stepdad. When he first started, he was great, but then that slowly went away, and just kind of on my own to raise myself. My mom did the best she could. She was worked at the packing house. So she was working down in the stockyards. My mom busted her ass. So you want to talk about a real hero. She was the one that was busting her ass for us kids. And, she eventually got a job at the post office, which she's still at. But, I remember her coming home bloody, from the cows. And, it was an interesting childhood, but I wouldn't trade it because it, made me who I am today.
Is the post office what took her to Alabama?
So no, my stepdad is what took her to Alabama, and that really didn't turn out great for her. She ended up getting down there, and he ended up just, for lack of better words, being a piece of shit. Didn't do what he said he was going to do, and went back to the bottle and drug her down there. And I had to go live with my aunt for a couple months, and that was, I was grateful for that. But I was going to community college. Because no one talked to me about college. So I just was like, okay, I'm going to go to college. Went to community college because that's all I could get into at the time. And I ended up going and living in this apartment complex right across from it. Man, it was like the worst thing I could have ever done. There was, drug dealing going on. You basically shared an apartment with a bunch of 4 other people or 3 other people. There was 4 rooms, and you shared the kitchen, and it was like going to boot camp with a bunch of people that didn't take care of themselves, but you couldn't yell at them. You could, there was no structure to it. It was bad. And, that's when I was like, I can't do this. So I ended up, joining the Navy after that. But yeah, so sorry, I kind of skipped ahead.
No.
That was kind of, yeah.
So I would assume a lot of these, stories, with the stepdad, that there were good days, and you kind of hoping, maybe he's turned a corner, and then back to the same old shit.
Yeah. But the alcohol, it's one of those things that keeps on, and drugs, keeps dragging you down, and you can kind of see it run in his family. I remember his family coming up one year, and his brother, thought that we had stolen some of his money because he was so drunk and he'd misplaced it. He was chasing us with a knife down in our basement. And I remember, I can't make this shit up. I was crawling out this little egress window in Minnesota in the north. We have basements. Mm-hmm. So you have to have these windows where you can crawl out of. Well, this was back before they made it mandatory that they had to be big enough for you to fit through. We managed to fit through it, but I had locked the bathroom door downstairs and crawled out that window, and he almost got to me. It was pretty bad. He probably doesn't remember that, but me and my stepbrother or whatever, he remembers.
Do you still talk to him? You guys still?
Who's that?
Your stepbrother?
No.
When that all split, that's crazy how that works. He probably he probably wrapped the money in a fucking present, with the TV remote or some shit.
That would have been my stepdad, but his brother, legitimately. I couldn't tell you. chasing me with that damn knife. It was,
No, Jesus.
I laugh about it
Yeah,
now,
no.
but it was scary as shit.
What was his gambling advice? What did he gamble on back then in
I
Minnesota?
think it was just the machines, because we have the casinos up there, and my mom and him one time they won. I don't know if, and this is what made it worse. They won, I don't know, maybe $5,000-$10,000 on a slot machine. Said, hey, we're gonna stay here for the stay here for the weekend, because they keep you there. And when you win big, it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna gamble some more. And so they would go on the weekends, and it's just
Yeah.
it's an
Oh
addiction, man.
yeah.
It's a killer. It sucks.
Dude, I'm assuming that Ted, you're in the heart of gambling addiction in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Well, yeah, because I live in an Indian reservation.
Right.
I mean, their fucking casinos are everywhere. There's one 3 miles from here, or well, yeah, about 3 miles from here. There's a huge one, Margaritaville. The Jimmy Buffett thing is down. We have a lot. I mean, it's a thing here. And on top of that, when you go on to them, like you're no longer in the United States, by the way, and they put a big sign at the front and was like, you're like subject to the Constitution of the tribe, and people are like, yeah, whatever, and I'm like, no, not yeah, whatever. So the BIA actually has their head trainer here, which I think most people, I just said BIA and they're like, the what? Yeah, his name's Max Oden. We actually should have him on. Anyway, I need to talk to him. Anyway, yeah, like the Bureau of Indian Affairs has their canine program here. So,
So when you got a good story, like did you go down to on purpose to the Navy, or did the Navy guy gank you out when you walked in there?
No, I mean, so in high school, this Nate recruiter, Chief Carson, I'll never forget his name. I found him on Facebook and I thanked him for what he did. He kept on hounding me the whole time I was in high school. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I don't want to go to boat. I don't want to do none of that shit. And we were sitting in class during 9/11, senior year. And I was like, I need to go do something. So I joined the National Guard. And I didn't know much about the National Guard. And all this stuff was happening with my family. And I wanted to get out of Minnesota because I wanted to get so far away. Just a lot. It just sucked. I mean, it was really hard. And I found out the National Guard, is based out of Minnesota. And I didn't know anything about the war. No one explained that, hey, these guys can deploy. So I didn't know that part. And I was like, look, I want to go to the Army, the regular Army. And little did I know that that's not how that works. Like they can't just transfer you over. It's just a different thing. And so I said, look, I'm not coming back. And I was 17 and they gave me an RE3 discharge. I can't tell you what it stands for. I probably should know that, but basically it made it a pain in the ass for me to get back in the military. I mean, it's not dishonorable, but it's like other than honorable or some shit. But basically it would make me look really bad for employment and whatnot. I didn't know they did that. So I hadn't went to boot camp yet. I didn't know they did that. And so I went to the recruiter, Chief Karst, after I swore up and down, I'm not going to do this because of the experience I had with the National Guard. Because the guy told me I wouldn't amount to anything. The National Guard sergeant that was in charge of, I signed up for infantry out of all things too. And, he said I wouldn't amount to anything. And I was like, I don't want to do nothing to do with the military. I had such a bad experience. And then finally I was just pushed to the brink and I went down to the recruiting station, and the only ones that were there were the Navy recruiters. Oddly enough, the Marines weren't there. The Army wasn't there. I didn't want to join the Air Force. Walked in there and he was surprised as shit to see me. And so he, did all my paperwork and he's like, hey, we got a problem. They gave you an RE3 discharge, which is not good at all. He's like, I have no idea why they would do it to a young kid like you, but they did it. And pretty much had to go beg the regional commanding officer to let me in the Navy. And he basically was like, why should I let you in my Navy? And I just told him, like, I have no other choice. I will do everything and anything, to make you proud of this decision. And he ended up letting me in because the Navy at the time was upping their recruiting because of 9/11. So that's where that went. But yeah, I needed to get out of Minnesota. Too many things had happened. I didn't mention it in the beginning, but one of the reasons why I wrote my book is I wanted people to know that all the stuff that I went through, I still made it. When I was going into seventh grade, I was also molested. Guys don't talk about that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just don't. I don't know if it's like you're ashamed or I'm not ashamed because when I was 11, 12 years old, and I wanted people to know that like all of the worst things that you can think of, I still managed to get there, and it's that's why I went in the Navy. I just figured, well, shit, all these bad things have happened. I just want to get away and just maybe it's better,
Yeah. Did you go to Great Lakes or San Diego? Or where'd you go?
I went to Great Lakes.
Yeah.
Great mistakes.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're like, fuck, it's just as cold here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Ted, did you happen to? I knew you're Googling around. Did you happen to look up that RE3?
No, I didn't, but I've heard that term before from one of our other guests, ironically enough, who I'm not going to mention, but you can probably figure it out. But we also have a mutual friend that I think has one of those that was also, he's never been on the podcast, but he was in the Army and the Navy, and he did the same job in both as an intelligence guy.
Yeah.
So he has a similar story.
So when you get in there, I don't know if how much you get to talk to guys at boot camp there or as you're going. Did you meet guys with similar stories?
No,
Life
but
stories?
you could tell that no, I didn't really, you don't really open up about that stuff, but you could tell that there was people that, guys, girls that came from hard homes. You can definitely tell those that were forced to do stuff on their own when they were kids, like on their own when they were kids. Sorry, my English is bad right now. And then you could tell that there were people that had everything done for them and they didn't know how to wipe their ass, and so it was definitely a different experience.
Yeah. So what were you like in boot camp? Were you a kind of a gray man? Were you the scrounger? What'd you do?
So I tried to take on a leadership position. A Master at Arms, they had different leadership positions. Master at Arms was one of them. But I quickly realized that I was 115 pounds, 110 pounds. These people don't listen to anybody, and I worked really hard. I mean, all the PT tests, all the knowledge tests that you had to remember. Like I was really motivated by being the top. So I did very well, and yeah, I didn't really slack off, and I wasn't really mouthy. But they still beat you anyways, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah. How'd you land on that job that you eventually got to?
Master at Arms. So I wanted to be a police officer my whole life. Like I wanted to be opposite of my dad, and being a police officer is all I could muster up as the opposite of my dad. And I went to the recruiting office, and he said, "You know what?" He's like, "I think I got a job for you." He's like, Minnesota passed a law where if you go serve 5 years, you can come back out and then take the test and get signed on as a police officer. Well, I was like, I have a girlfriend. What's 5 years?
Yeah.
Like we'll make it. And so that's why I enlisted as a Master at Arms, because they said that, while you're in, you'll go do police stuff, which far from the truth. Like I went over to Bahrain, my first deployment, and I ended up standing a gate. Not deployment, my first duty station. Ended up standing a gate. There was no law enforcement for me, anyways.
How long did that girlfriend last?
Man, she lasted not even a couple months of me getting over to Bahrain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I came back home on leave and found out that, she's, ready to move on and stuff like that. But unfortunately I was staying at her house, and it was just really awkward. Her parents were super nice though. Like that's the one thing I'll tell you, like all of my relationships with people, like girlfriends and stuff. Like they always had like good parents, and I think I was drawn to that because I had a great mom, right? But I did not have that family, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
right? So, but no, her parents are good, and he lasted about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months
A
maybe,
minute,
and
a
we,
hot minute.
yeah, which is sucks, but it's it was for the best. I mean, I'm married to a wonderful, wonderful lady,
Yeah.
and so yeah,
That's how it works out, buddy.
hell yeah.
So where was your A school at?
I was my A school, so they had two A schools. One was down in Little Creek, or one not down. It was over in Little Creek, Virginia, and then the other one was down in San Antonio, which is where I'm at right now.
Oh,
And that was the cushy one because you're on the Air Force Base. But I went over to Little Creek, and there you were with all of like a lot of fleet returnees and whatnot, so people that had already been in the Navy a good hot minute, and you were at the bottom, and they made you feel like you were at the bottom.
and so you're a buck 10. Well, how tall are you then?
5'9", 5'10".
So were they like, there's no chance, dude, you're not going to make this job?
Not that,
No?
no. But when I went over to when I went to over with the SEALs, they looked at me and were like, "There's no way." But that was the first time I ever experienced that. I mean, most of the young kids. I mean, I wasn't the smallest guy, but I was still pretty small.
Ted, how much did you weigh when you graduated?
Man, I was cycling a bunch, so I was like 6 foot, like 140.
Wow.
Like, so I had to be super lean and super thin, and yeah, I'm definitely not that now, but yeah, that was
Same here.
Yeah, you gotta be light to gotta be fast. So
Yeah.
you can get stronger, you can get lighter to get faster, and it was easier to get lighter. So you can only lift so many weights before it also started making you heavy. But yeah.
I remember when I was 16, my driver's license, I always remember this, my weight was 131 or 121. So 16 years old, 121. I get a job at McDonald's, and then I'm snagging a chicken nugget, and then I'm grabbing this, grabbing that. And then I became a manager when I was still in high school. And the managers, you had to sit in the lobby during your lunch break, and you were only allowed to eat McDonald's.
Does that make that? Oh, make
Yeah. So
damn.
when I graduated, I was, I don't know, 40 pounds heavier than that, probably. Still like 160, but still. And I've been hovering the 180s, 190s ever since, my whole rest of my life. So, all right. So you get there, Master at Arms. We're going to go ahead and take our first break. When we get back, we're going to remind everybody, because if I know we talked about this back in 2018, but people don't want to scroll all the way through on iTunes to find that. We'll talk about how you got into the dogs and that whole thing, and maybe even if you don't mind rehashing your worst story of your life, basically.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So stick around. When we come back, we're gonna hop right into the Navy stuff. So stick around. All right, we just finished the HITS Canine Training Conference this year in Phoenix, and what a great time it was. What a great turnout, great instructions. I don't know, like 1,300 guys there. It was amazing. Well, guess what? They're coming back next year, August 21st to the 23rd in New Orleans. You do not want to miss it, guys. I'm telling you, it's amazing. The giveaways, the instruction, the instructors, the hanging around at night, getting to meet people. And Ted and I will both be teaching there. If you check them out, hitscanine.net, or check them out online. They're everywhere, hitscanine.net. Sign up next year. Do not wait. We had a lot of people that waited too long and had to stay at a different hotel than host hotel. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss out. You will not find a larger conference to go to. It is by handlers, for handlers. You definitely don't want to miss it out. hitscanine.net, New Orleans, 2024.
We get it. Fueling a working dog can be tough, but they need high quality food to give them energy and nutrients they require for work and keep their gut healthy. for everything that we ask them to do. Kinetic dog food is a great balance of healthy meats and grains and is made specifically for working and sporting dogs. They have a full line of foods and supplements available. Supplements are actually really cool. They have a weight gainer and they have an electrolyte one too, which is we actually use the kennel as it's so hot all the time in Oklahoma. And they've been working to perfect their line with thousands of dogs in hundreds of departments across the U.S. And you can buy it locally, or you can buy it online at Tractor Supply and Chewy. So hit them up at Kinetic Dog Food. That's going to be good for Instagram and Facebook. Just spell it out. And then kineticdogfood.com. Or you can send out a text. Like if you have a question, you can call them and just talk to Dave. Area code 513-615-6904. And that dude loves to talk about nutrition labels and what's actually in the food you're feeding versus what they have. So hit them up, kineticdogfood.com. We are pleased to have with us on the show as a sponsor, Specs Canine. They believe that any adventure or work or play is better with a dog by your side to keep them protected no matter what. They design and manufacture performance training gear for the active working dog. You can use a discount code WorkingDogRadio to get 20% off your first order. But what do they make? Specifically, they make goggles. And it's great for dogs that have pannus, which is a genetic thing with their eyes, but it also prevents sticks and stuff for... I had to think about this for a second. Because I don't want to just read this because it sounds like I'm just fucking reading it. Stick, seeds, ducks,
It's
rocks.
okay
Yeah, but it sounds like I'm fucking reading it. We're pleased to have, as a sponsor, Specs Canine. They believe that in any adventure, whether work or play, is better with a dog by your side to keep them protected with you no matter what. Specs designs and manufactures performance-driven dog gear for the active and working dog. Specifically, what do they make, though? So if you wanted to get some goggles for the dog, which is great protecting them from UV rays, sticks, seeds, ducks, right? Hunting dogs and rocks, FEMA guys. Think about tracking or working in thick cover, rotor wash, dust and sandstorms, nasty basements or attics, or at the range. And specifically, they have interchangeable lenses. They got a dark one and then they have a clear one used by professionals worldwide. One of my favorite things that they actually make is the Ear Pro. It's something that we use all the time. So one of the things that we do at our handler schools is we do obedience under gunfire with a handler shooting and with backup shooting and move from target to target. And the dogs actually wear the Ear Pro while we're working all the time, and we treat it just like we treat a muzzle. So the dogs will muzzle up, wear the Ear Pro, wear the muzzle, we're good to go. It knocks it down between 18 and 24 decibels, all made in quality in the United States. Specs, REXSPECS.com, at Specs Canine, letter K number 9 on the Instagrams and the Facebook, Working Dog Radio for your 20% off.
All right, everybody, we are back, Working Dog Radio, broadcasting the bite. Myself and Ted, as always, from Tulsa, Oklahoma, with Benny Olson, who's down in San Antonio, Texas, with Patriot Dog Training. How many? Do you have the one location? You got a couple.
We have the one location, but we have a satellite office that we've been testing up in Dallas. It's been going decent. Yeah, I think you really need somebody there full time. But yeah, it's really nice if we pull dogs out of Dallas to go be able to do a lesson and, have a spot to land at.
Yeah, my son lives in Euless, Texas, and I have thought about opening a location over there, and mainly because I was there 2 years ago, and we were hanging in Dallas, and we were at the Dallas Farmers Market on like a Sunday, and there was 200 French poodles or French bulldogs there.
Yeah.
Like everybody, and they all live in apartments.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, the population there, and just people they love their dogs.
Yeah. So I don't think, but the reason why we haven't done it is exactly what you're saying. I can't move there yet. I wouldn't be able to do that, and finding the right people to go there or be there, recruit, as we know, is not all that easy.
No,
it's you definitely got to be around. Do you find we'll get into the Navy stuff here in a second, that you need to have a physical location at the place, or just having phone and trainers is enough?
I think you need somebody there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we opened up a location in Pittsburgh for my business, for my Ridgeside Canine business, and it's just we have Facebook page and a website and phone number, and we have trainers, but I don't have a physical location, and it's slow going. And there's a lot of money in Pittsburgh, a lot.
Yeah, people want to actually come and meet you. They want a place to go, and I think it's once you get down, like, hey, this is what the process is. Like us, we bring the dogs back down to San Antonio, and some people don't like that, like because it's such a far distance. But your dog could get lost. Like most of it is, what if my dog gets lost? Well, if your dog gets lost in Dallas, like it's really no difference than it getting lost in San. And I've never lost a dog.
Yeah.
So that's your biggest hurdle, is that their dog is that far away, and for the most part we've been able to massage that, and it's doing all right.
Yeah. Well, before we get in the Navy stuff, Ted, you guys, I saw online, have done so much freaking work to your facility. What's left, dude?
Minor stuff, some paint. We got to do a sign out on the street, but because of the way that our code is written, we gotta. I don't really want to talk about the whole process because I'm sure some fucking dickhead city inspector from Tulsa is going to listen to this and be like, "See, you said it online, fucking." So anyway, there's some shit about a sign, some paint. Yeah, they wanted me to put a fucking island in my parking lot, and this is the point now where somebody from the city shows up, and I'm kind of like, "What do you want?" Get out of here. And they're like, "Oh, we're supposed to be here." I'm like, "No, you're not. Get the fuck out of here." So I'm not. Yeah, I mean, just minor shit now. All the hard stuff is out of the way. That's required, all the permitting, everything else. Put AstroTurf down. By the way, that shit is super heavy. Like super heavy. We put the poles up. We got the tents up. We built built all those new kennels outside, and we're in. The electrician was there today installing some super high amperage lines because we're running. I call them French fry heaters, but it's the heaters to keep those individual runs warm for the wintertime. So, because they're not really big enough to put a full like doghouse in or anything, but I don't want the dogs to freeze and I don't want the lines to freeze and stuff. Yeah. So we're installing that. But yeah, it seems like it's a project here and there. It's bleeding by $4,000 at a time.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Nothing. One fucking time I want to buy something that's like $45.
Yeah.
No, it
seems
500 like and up. Everything.
It's like every time it's like Alicia and I are talking, it's like, it's $3,700, $4,500. It's this or it's that. And I'm like, fuck it's death by 1,000 cuts, but every cut is $4,000. So
yeah. And then Google rips your throat out every fucking 10 days. So, but anyways,
yeah.
God damn.
If you're, it's good. So, yeah. It's good. Right. At least we make the money to cover it. So, anyways,
it back with
Benny Olson and down in San Antonio. Show that book again. We got the book came out with. I can't wait to get it.
I've got my book, but all the rest of them are being shipped to the publisher right now. Nice. I got to go out and sign them.
Nice.
They were supposed to be here before Christmas. Now they'll be there the 28th, and then I'll go sign them. And he should have sent out an email today to everybody because I keep on getting bombarded on every social platform by somebody. I needed to change the address because it's been so long because we waited on the DOD, or, hey, when's this thing coming out? And I'm like, I'm trying, man.
Yeah.
I really am.
Are you going to go on a tour at any of the seminars or any conferences, signing books?
I haven't. If somebody asks, I mean, we'll reach out to people. I'm happy to do it. This book, I've only had one negative person say, it's a money grab, this and that. And honestly, I wanted 2 copies, one for each kid. And if it does really well, I'm grateful. I'm blessed. God will provide. But at the same time, like, the money and selling as many as I can is not and I know it's bad as a business, like, because we're all entrepreneurs, right? And we want to make money and do well, but that's not the driving force behind the book. But with that said, like, I will try to, go speak because I would love to tell people about my story. I would love to have them ask questions. And my favorite part of speaking is the Q&A part.
Yeah.
Because I get to really find out what people really want to hear. And
yeah.
Somebody send this to the hits guys.
Yeah. We'll talk to Pocono Joe too.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
A money grab. What year did you get out of the Navy?
excuse me, I got out in 2013.
Right. So
So I,
you waited 10
yeah,
years to do a money grab.
yeah,
Get the fuck out of here.
not to mention I already have, well, I have two businesses right now. I mean, one's still building, but I already have a business that does pretty well. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. It's, I don't quite get it, and I wasn't a SEAL. So there's that aspect
Mm-hmm.
from some people. It's like, how dare you? And I'm like, you guys are writing all these damn books. Like, all I'm doing is writing about my life
Yeah.
and where it took me. Like,
Some of theirs might not even be true. Anyways, so all right. So you get to A school. You're going through. You get out of that. Where do they send you? Bahrain's your first duty station.
so you got to pick three duty stations on a sheet of paper, and I wanted the hardest duty station I could get, and I wanted to go as far away as possible. And so I put Bahrain three times on that sheet of paper. I was like, that's all I want to go. You had people picking Italy and Japan, and I had people are like, you're crazy, and I didn't care.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got your wish, right?
I did, and it worked out well. I mean, when I got over there, you got a villa to sleep in. They first had you in a 4-star hotel because they had no room to put people in the barracks because they were building this place up so much, and a lot of opportunities came because of that decision that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Just because when you want to be a dog handler, especially in the fleet, uh, when you get to your duty station, they want more time from you because the command ultimately is funding that for you to go to Lackland to go be a dog handler, and so they want you to stay there longer. And I was a single guy, and I didn't mind being in Bahrain. Like, got to go to
Mm-hmm.
Dubai and the UAE. I mean, it was a good gig. Um, I wanted to be close to Iraq because that was the war that was going on, and I thought you would deploy out of there. But it turns out, as a dog handler, they're pulling people from the States or from Italy to go to the States to go train and then go to Iraq. So I didn't get to do that there.
Oh, how did dogs come on your radar?
So the Department of Defendant School dependent school is out there, and they're a bunch of kids, right? Like, they're all the servicemen and women have, if you have kids over there, they get to go to the school, and so do some of the locals that have money and whatnot. And all the buses would come in front of the base every morning, and I remember standing at the gate one day and I saw the working dogs sweeping the buses, and I was like, I want to do that shit. It's cool. The handlers look like they're having fun, and you're protecting these children from bombs and whatnot.
What had you ever seen a Malinois at this point? Did you know anything about dogs?
No, I didn't. I did not know anything about a Malinois. I mean, obviously, I knew what a shepherd was. I didn't really learn about a Malinois until they put me in a bite suit and were like, "Hey, dummy, go out there and stand," which is the stupidest thing you can do to a new guy. Like, not that you can just hurt me, but like, or hurt the new guy, but you can really hurt the dog because you don't know shit. I mean, you could really jam up a dog and hurt it. So, but that's the first time I ever, got acquainted with a Malinois.
Oh yeah, Ted and I talk about that a lot. Like I know he's the same. We really don't do even a lot of sendaways, a lot of long bites, and a lot of runoffs. And
Not really.
I know my first handler school in 2005 as a handler, there was I think 5 or 6 of us in the school, and it was just you go and you take off running. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I'm sure I landed on a couple dogs and stuff like that. I don't even really enjoy having like doing a demo or having a friend put on even the dragon with the bite onto the dog. I'm not even. I've done it. I do it. I think the last one was my daughter when she was she's 21 now. I think she was about 20. And the dog was on a table, and we walked her in and just put him on a tricep. But I didn't even like it then. It's not a rite of passage.
No.
Like they try it. It's freaking stupid. There's a lot of dogs, been jammed up.
Oh yeah.
With necks like that. Ted, I know you got a bunch of guys working for you now. What's the decoy process for your in-house guys? Like,
when somebody says they want a decoy, I had a new kid. His name's Siren. Like that's his actual name. When he replied, I was like, "There's no way this kid. It's his name. It's his name. He's a great kid." But he worked for somebody else down in Texas for a while. Kind of learned to decoy. And anytime somebody says they want to learn to decoy, I'm like, yeah, okay. Or they come to me and they say, I'm already a decoy. I'm like, I bet you are. We're going to find out. Siren actually surprised me. He's actually really safe. And the guy that he worked for, regardless of what I have personal feelings, the guy aside, but he's a good kid. But yeah, if you decoy for us, you go through a pretty stringent process of me teaching and you doing like progressive stuff, and you don't just to get like and I have people offer all the time, right? I have handlers offer. I'm like, you do handler shit, don't worry about decoying. That said, like one of our previous guests, Anthony Moore, who's one of our state guys and OBN, he's a fantastic decoy and runs a huge training group. And then one of my other handlers is a really good decoy. But yeah, like new people, and there are people that want to get bit, and I'm like, all right, you can put a sleeve on, and I'll put a dog on a table like you do with Vanessa. And like that's
yeah.
And it's the dogs that target correctly. They do all the shit that they do everything right. So I don't let people. The most experienced person in the room is usually the one in the suit or close to it. That's for damn sure.
So obviously, when they did that to you, Benny, that didn't scare you off. Probably invigorated you a little bit.
No, I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, I was a young guy and thought I could outrun a dog, and that didn't really happen.
Makes sense.
You can't.
I think the one thing to find out if somebody really wants it, though, is have them go be a kennel tech for 6 months and see if they enjoy cleaning up painted kennels of shit and everything else that the dog can do. And that's what they had me do. I mean, I can't tell you how many we had a couple dogs at every time. They just paint the damn kennel and go clean it up. All right. Yeah,
especially if you have kennels without a guillotine door and you got to get that dog out, and that's going to check your mud right there, buddy.
That's what we have right now in our current facility, and we actually just bought a new place, so we're moving away from all that bullshit. But I mean, the labor alone on that is just it's a pain in the ass. And so yeah, we're going back to guillotine doors just because that's a ticket right there.
Oh yeah, we don't have that. So I'll come in and I have either my manager comes in early on Mondays and I have another girl that comes in early Tuesday through Friday, and I'm in there about 8:30, and I get in there, and if I hear them with a dog in the bathtub, giving them a bath, I'm like, what did you walk in on? For sure, there's something going on there. Yeah. So how long did it take you to get to Lackland then?
6 months. 6 months from the time that I got to Bahrain. I volunteered all my off time, so we were working port and starboard most of the time, so 12 hours, and then I'd go spend 2 or 3 hours at the kennel and then go home and sleep and rinse and repeat that. The biggest thing is I couldn't have my qualifications drop or not do my qualifications for patrol work for just being a straight stick, and so I had to do both if I really wanted both. I couldn't just, go volunteer at the kennel. That's not how it works. They ended up bringing me over full time though. I got all my qualifications for patrol work, and they're like, okay, you've proven that you really want this. So they brought me over.
When you had gone through MA school, did they even talk about dogs there?
They brought it in. Not really. They brought the dog in to do like sweeps of the barracks, but that was about it. Look for drugs and whatnot.
Yeah. So you get down there to Texas. What'd you think?
Again, I was a young guy, so to be a dog handler before, you had to be an E5, and you had to have some seniority in the military. And I was a seaman, so I was an E3, and I was showing up in desert camouflage uniforms. Everybody else is in woodlands. I was getting shit on by these these senior guys in the Navy that were there. They're like E5s and whatnot. And finally, this Master Chief came out, and he's like, he shut all that shit down because he knew where I'd come from, and he's like, he's authorized to wear it. but the whole time, I mean, I just got shit for it.
How'd you get to waive it again in E3?
They were just accepting. They opened it up.
9/11.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, 9/11 basically. Yeah, opened everything up, and unfortunate as it is, but yeah, that opened everything up, and I wasn't the first one for sure. I mean, there was guys that went before me, just like just like when I was with the SEAL team selected for them. I wasn't the first guy. I was maybe one of the youngest to ever start it or go through it, but certainly wasn't the first. So there were people already kind of paving the way.
So basically what we've ever found from talking to a lot of guests that have went through Lackland is you get there, they have you train a dog that's older, has been deployed a few times, got some training under him. It's not as difficult as getting a green dog. Is that what your experience was?
No, I'd like to talk to those people because all the dogs that failed out, they're there as training dummies. Like your hand's fucking purple because the dog's dragging you all over the damn place. The dog doesn't release, from the bite. Or detection. The dog failed out of detection and it's just shit. It false responds everywhere. And you're just like, they expect you to be able to read the dog. And you're like, dude, I can barely read a book. I mean, come on, but anyways, so, yeah, man, maybe it's different now. I don't know, but we had a lot of dogs that couldn't, if they weren't adoptable, they'd go there. And they knew who you were. It's funny how dogs just kind of pick up on that. They're like, I'm going to drag this asshole all over the place.
Yeah. Well, everybody we talked to is like, no, the dogs that I worked with in Lackland were not the dogs we deployed with. When I deployed, then I got, to a duty station, I got my dog.
Yep.
We just had, a girl on from HIT, Sarah Carver, and when she got to her station, her first dog, she said
she was like the 12th
handler of that dog.
Yeah, 11th or 12th.
Dragging that bitch,
Yeah, and it was a dog that nobody wanted. She was in Italy. I don't fucking remember. I'm pretty sure it was Italy. She's going to send me a fucking text message. Here's this Instagram. She's like, no, dickhead. So I'm pretty sure it was Italy. But yeah, she was like, yeah, it was a 1200. I remember her telling a story. And I'm like, God damn.
That poor son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Pouring them out, man. Yeah. That's what they do. I don't know if I can say that.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So
yes, you can.
Did you hear about the SEAL team gig while you were there or after you got out?
So when I got to, I went back to Bahrain and I still had time to serve there. So I had another 2 years, which I was fine because I was making good money and, blowing it on everything, but making good money. And, I heard about it while I was there. I heard about it from a buddy and another guy, who was slotted to go there. I think he ended up getting a DUI or whatever, really good friend of mine. Unfortunate how he had a little bit of wine. And over in Bahrain, it's no alcohol, like even just a little bit. And so I heard about the command while I was over there, and a couple of them were slotted to go over there because they went and screened, tested to go there. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I don't really find anything interesting about it because I really didn't ask too many questions, right? Like I was just more focused on getting back to the stateside. I wanted to go down to Texas because that's where I was told I would have the best opportunity for advancement. Ended up going to Texas. Found out that I was in Kingsville, Texas, and there's nothing that goes on in Kingsville, Texas. And I'd be surprised if there's anything that goes on today. I mean, I'm sure they got another Walmart or something, but I ended up going down there and I felt like I was wasting away, honestly, because it was so boring. They put me on another dog that, was an older dog, had cataracts and whatnot. And I started volunteering my time with DPS down here in Texas because I was like, screw this, I'm getting out. And I'm going to go take the test for this and see if I can get into that. And at about that time is when my buddy called me, who was already at the command, and he had said, hey, you're pretty young, but I was 21 at the time, 20 years old, something like that. And he said, you want a chance to come test? And I said, sure, absolutely. And I went up there and screened, and that's when they accepted me.
So you're walking there, you have no clue what's up.
None at all.
Had you gained any weight at this point? Are you gotten any bigger?
Nope.
No.
Nope. I was still like 140 pounds. Well, I had to gain a little bit of weight, but I was still 140 pounds. Like I was real skinny. So I went up there to screen, and they took me through this PT test, and I had this Master Chief. He was like, I don't know, 50 years old. This old guy. I love him. He's just a great guy, and he was like 5'7" or so. And I'm like, I'm gonna kick this dude's ass.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a SEAL. And I was like, I'm gonna kick this old guy's ass. And he ended up running me into the ground. I mean, he took me to the O course, like a 5 mile run, O course, another 5 mile run, and then finish up with some pull-ups. And I could only do like a couple pull-ups because I had never done that before. Like Navy test doesn't do pull-ups.
Mm-hmm.
So did the pull-ups, did like 2 of them or whatever it was. And he's like, you really should be a little bit stronger to do this job. And I'm like, okay. Like I've never done any of this. Like he took me on this O course where he had to climb up these, ropes and shit. And I was smoked.
Yeah. Got nothing left.
No.
Ted, what were you doing when you were 21?
Racing my bike. And I graduated college at that point. When I was 21. I was I was about to graduate college at that point and moved to Colorado to work for the sheriff's department. But I had finished racing when I was like 20. Yeah, I was fucking doing dumb shit, racing my bike, skipping class, and like not making wise choices.
Yeah. I was, what I was doing?
Working in a strip club.
Yeah. I was a DJ at a strip club.
With a pet monkey.
In Myrtle Beach. I probably had the monkey then. I got a stripper pregnant then, too. So it was pretty good. My son is 32 now. The one I was talking about lives in Euless. So he's over here screening to work a dog with the command, and I'm keeping it in strippers. What the fuck, dude? But I did own a monkey back then because I had piles of cash. I was like Mike Tyson before Mike Tyson. So, anyways, so you get in there now. These are dogs when you get in there and you successfully screen. These are dogs like you hadn't seen, right?
No, I mean I screened with them. So there's 2 parts of it. One was with the command, and one was with the kennel.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to, kind of go see some of the training and do that. And the kennel had to accept you too. So everybody had to give you a thumbs up or down or whatever.
100%. Everybody had to give it.
I don't remember that, to be honest with you. I'm sure there were some that gave me a thumbs down just because of my age.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't do anything that would disqualify me, I don't think, when I was doing the screening process. So I'm sure because of how young I was, because you got to remember, a lot of these SEALs that are coming to this command, I mean, they're, they've already done a couple platoons and they're older. They're being put through the ringer there. And I think, what they go through there is harder than buds, is what I've been told. It was, I don't think it was 100% though. No.
Yeah, that'd be a tough one to get 100% on that. Did you have to go back to Bahrain? Did you find out while you were there?
So no, I was in Kingsville, Texas already.
Texas, yeah.
So I went back to Texas, and I was like, I'm gonna end up having to finish out my time here another 2 years. Well, sure as shit, I got a call like 2 weeks later. Hey, we're pulling you. They had some special waiver where that command gets to, as long as the CO releases me from the base. And thank God my a lady named Jill, she was MA1, a Master at Arms. She was a first class E6. She was the kennel manager at the time and our kennel supervisor. And she's like, yeah, we don't need him. And so because she said that, that was one of the reasons why I was able to be released. So I'm grateful for that.
So up to that point, do you know how long the MAs had been getting attached to the command at that point?
No, I mean, they've been getting attached to that command. I don't know the dates, but I know it was before 2006, that they were being attached to the command.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I ended up getting there in 2007. I think February of 2007.
Oh, so it's still a relatively new program.
Yeah, yeah.
So you get there. We talked about it in the last episode or the first time you were on about again, guys, go back and take a look at it. We won't delve into it too far. What was expected of you as far as keeping up with them?
Just not to kill any one of them and not to get myself killed. So I had to learn, CQB, um, the medical stuff. They take you out and you do a goat lab. You have to keep a goat alive, or a pig lab, keep a pig alive. Um, Navigation, stuff like that. But mainly it was just, hey, you know, not get anybody else killed or yourself killed.
Could you shoot?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
I
just,
mean, I had not had like extensive, like the Navy. I had the Navy's qualification, but when they took us through the course, there was a couple courses, civilian courses they took us through. Because I had not learned a lot of bad behaviors. I did okay.
yeah. When I was on our SWAT team, one of the reasons I got selected for sniper on there is because I didn't grow up with my dad's hunting rifle with my elbow way up, and I didn't, I had really never fired a bolt action rifle at that point. I was good on an M4, good on a pistol, and so I didn't have any of the bad
Yeah,
habits.
that was
Right.
the same story when we had Marshall on from the Secret Service, Hurricanes handler.
Yeah.
And he talked about the first time he ever fired a gun was when he became a Secret Service
Yeah.
agent. And they were like, it's not a bad thing. I'm like, it's not. You're right.
I said, you guys do realize I have Tourette's though, so you're putting me behind that fucking rifle, and I'm a fucking fidget, and I can barely sit still. So
We've had some other guys on from that community that we're talking about, and several of those guys have said, I wanted to go into those units, and every member of every squad and every unit, every member in there that makes it past selection is a shooter. And if you think you're going to be successful going in there and shooting better than anyone that's in any of those units, and that's somehow your magic way in, like every single one of those guys is a trigger puller. And so a lot of those guys were like, I had to figure out something else to do, whether it's dogs or intelligence or medical or something. If I wanted to like get some time, like I can't go in and be like, yeah. And so it's interesting to hear. And I have friends that we've never had on the podcast that have been in parts of those units, and they're fantastic shooters. They're like, I'm not even that good. I'm like, I disagree. And they're like, no. And yeah. So if you're listening to this, because we hear that all the time, because I'm sure you get that question all the time, like, well, how do I get into handling? How do I get into this? How do I get into that? I want to be in that unit. And you're like, don't focus on shooting, because you will not beat those dudes.
That's the whole reason why I got there. Was, I mean, there was no other reason. It was because of the dogs. Because
yeah. So if you listen to a podcast with like professional athletes, we'll say football players, they always have they'll ask, what was your welcome to the NFL moment? What was your welcome to the command moment? You like during training, anything good or bad, where they're like, hey fucker, or hey fucker, that was pretty good?
No, I think it was just walking up into the team room when I finally got assigned to the squadron I was with, and just some of the guys were like, "You're here to do what?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah." They're like, "Yeah, he's your dog handler," and they're like, "Okay, we'll see how that goes."
Yeah. Did the needle go across the record when you walked in, and everybody look at you?
Yeah, I mean, well, people didn't really know who I was, and we had intel guys and stuff coming in there. So, but once I started going out and doing house runs and stuff, and people started seeing me running with them, you get under the mic, under the looking glass, right? Like just
It's it. Yeah, I can't imagine it. That would be. I give you credit for getting in there, man. So let's go forward. You got. Let's talk about your dog.
Yep, I got assigned Digo, who was this little demon. He got kicked out of another squadron because he kept on biting assaulters and just everybody that he wasn't supposed to bite. But he was a really, really great dog. Just needed some direction, and that's why they put me on him, because I had the handling skills. I just needed to figure out how to guide him to doing the right thing.
How old was he?
He had to have been not 2 years old, 2 years old maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one of the trainers there, or handlers, he was an older guy, Joe. He said that when they went and selected him, he just, as soon as he walked out on the field over in Holland or wherever they got him, they're like, this dog's serious. Like he's got the business.
It's a crazy parallel because when we had, I'm sure you know Trent from Rangers. Trent handled Benno, and it was the same story when he became the handler for that unit. They were like, "Here's your dog," and they gave him the one that nobody wanted. It was the one that kept fucking biting everybody.
Yeah.
And Trent was like, "I can do this," and he was like, and secretly he's like, "No, I can't fucking do this."
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear the parallels.
Yeah. So let's do a two-part question. One, how did you mitigate the biting? Two, knowing what you know, everything now about dog behavior, what would you have done differently to mitigate the biting?
Ooh, to mitigate the biting, really setting up the training scenarios to where, like having the decoy or even a decoy that doesn't have equipment on. We used to dress them up in, the clothes that they wore over there. Showing him that picture with the team right next to me and him running past the team and actually engaging the bad guy. Doing it in low light to no light. That was the biggest thing that I could think of that we did.
Yeah. Anything you would do different now, knowing what you know?
Man, the use of the electronic collar, I really didn't know a lot about it back then, and we did use it, but I think if I could do it all over again, I would teach the dogs a little bit differently with the e-collar. Back then it was slap an e-collar on a dog to make them stop doing something versus now, we use it and the dogs are motivated and they're jacked and they're just excited to put the collar over their head.
Mm-hmm. Was Digo the blow up when you got blown up?
Yeah, Digo was a big part of my life. Him and I are kind of intertwined forever since then. So yeah, I got to I got to the command in February 2007. Graduated the support course that they had there in July of 2007. So a few months later, was assigned Digo that month. And I just laugh every time because I remember going out there and taking a bite from him just to kind of see. I know there's a lot of handlers that don't believe you should do that, but I absolutely kind of wanted to see where his bite was because it's just one of those things I just wanted to know. And I ended up doing workups with him and the team. So not only was I learning the dog at a different level, and then also learning how the team moves and the different scenarios. So I was like sucking through a fire hose, like trying to just pick up everything I could. And we ended up deploying late December, early January of 2008. So literally, I don't know, 10 months after I showed up there, I'm leaving and going with the dog and running with the team. We get over to Baqaba, Iraq, and I write about this in the book. It was a town notoriously known for IEDs and notoriously known for house-borne IEDs. So they rigged the houses to blow up. And we primarily would target that network to hit the people that were doing that. And so we go out on a few missions, and I write about it in the book. Digo is having a ton of success. I mean, just eating people's throats. I mean, he's just a badass. And, everybody always asked me why he gravitated towards the head. I have no idea. I mean, I think it was because of the screaming, and I think it intensified his fight. And I think that's where the source is, right? So, it's really successful. We go out one night and we're told that we only can take one dog, and they wanted Digo because Digo had developed this reputation for just being a badass, and he was finding everybody. He didn't miss a guy, which sometimes dogs do. And we ended up taking strikers, these eight-wheeled vehicles out You're like in like a little tuna. It feels like you're in like a little sardine can. And we go into the city of Bakaba, and it's kind of eerie. I carried a couple bottles of like food, like empty water bottles, because there's dogs everywhere, and we're going down the middle of the city, just patrolling in and knocking out lights and everything we can. We get up to a building, and we start doing a call out, basically asking the people, "Hey, come out. We're here to, search the compound. We're looking for such and such person." First couple people come out, no problem. I don't know what happened to the next two people that they thought it would be a smart idea, but they came out with AKs and they got lit up right in the doorway. Ended up dropping two people right in the doorway, and kept calling more people out. They came out just fine. We were told that there was one more person in there, so we had one person go back in and say, "Hey, come on out. Take down all the sheets and everything, because we want the dog to be able to go in and move around." And we wanted to be able to kind of see in a lot of the different doorways before we went in there. And so, lady comes back out, and I believe either she or the sniper said that he thought he saw another person in there on his thermal goggles. And when you look at the video, which I can't show because, because we lost our EOD operator that night, and I would never show what happened to him like that. You could see like just a little glimpse of somebody like on the second balcony, like going into the third level. And so we dropped a couple guys in the doorway, and I already know Digo's going to go hit the dead guys, because that's what they do. They love dead prey. It's an easy bite. But anyways, the team leader says, "Hey, dog up, get the dog ready, dog up." And so I, grab Digo by his vest and unclip him. And I get up to kneel next to the team leader. I say, "Dog up." And he says, "Send it." It's like my favorite words ever. Send it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I gave him the stelling command, or the rolling R. I can't do it right now. Roll my tongue. So he
Mm-hmm.
goes out, fires out, and he goes immediately for the doorway. His nose goes up, and he fucking nails the two dudes that were there, and starts tearing at them. And again, it's not, this right here is like rural scenario. Like, we're not practicing his bite or anything. We're trying to see if they're playing possum. He goes in, bites, and I end up calling him off with the electronic collar because he was just so engaged with it. And I go to the team leader. I said, "I can't get him to go past these dead people. He's just not going to do it." It's like kind of that moment where it's the dog, like it's an animal. They're going to do what they want. We hadn't practiced on moving past people. I mean, it's a really hard thing to simulate. You can simulate a decoy not, being inactive, but then it's like one of those things. Like, if you start correcting him for not to go past the decoy, he's gonna probably skip past a guy. Like, there's so many scenarios that can go on with that. So I tell my team leader I can't do it. So he makes the call to move up to the building, and I see this big bay window, and I'm like, "Oh, this is perfect. This guy's never gonna know this Digo's coming in, because they're gonna expect us to come through the doorway." And so if he is sitting there, barricaded in one of the corners, he's not going to see Digo coming through the doorway. And so we move up to the building. I get down on both knees right in front of the window. The team leader says, "I'm going to throw a frag grenade out. I'm going to soften up the bottom floor of the building, and then we'll send the dog." And so I get down on both knees. I have the dog still attached to me. I haven't unattached him yet. And I have an operator right next to me, and all the guys are stacked up at the doorway. And I said, "Okay, cool. I'm going to send my dog through the window." He says, "Frag out," over the radio, "frag out, frag out, frag out." Chucks it in. And I know how long it takes for those things to kind of go off. So I kind of keep my head ducked. I hear it go off, and then I lift my head up just very so slightly. And I feel this like immense pressure build up at my face. And I just was like, I've never felt this, you know, breaching a doorway or anything, and in training. And so I was like, for a split second, I was like, something's wrong. And then that moment, I woke up underneath a pile of rubble. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't move. My dog was nowhere near me. Digo had actually, it snapped the buckle, the metal buckle, like, on your dog leash. Um, the the force was so strong that it snapped that buckle and sent Digo like 20 feet away. And I thought I was buried alive, to be honest with you. At first, I didn't know where I was, and then I remembered I was on an op, and then I thought that the guys, like, somebody forgot about me, and I don't know why that, like, that would never happen. Like, we don't leave anybody behind, but for a split second, you're just like, I'm here alone, and I think I'm buried alive is what I thought. So anyways, I'm under this pile, and I could hear muffled voices around me because it took a while for, like, if you watch the video, it took a while for them to kind of get in there, and I had there's a lot of wires and everything, so they're trying to be careful. Louis was underneath, Louis Safrant. So if anybody's watching this, you go Google Louis Safrant and you read about him, because my story is great, but I mean, he paid the ultimate sacrifice, and I'd love for people to learn about him. He's underneath the carport. The carport's like a foot thick. They're trying to get him out. I start to see some light, and I see some familiar faces. This guy named Chuck, and he's like, "Benny, is that you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here." And he uncovers my face, and eventually they uncover my arms, and they say, "Hey, your dog's trying to bite everybody. Like, Digo's just biting everybody. He's biting this brick." And so they had said, "Hey, do you got a muzzle?" And I always carried a mesh muzzle on me, and I carried a Ram muzzle from Ray Allen. And I reach into my pocket with my left wrist, and my left wrist is just, I reached down and it hurt so bad. I looked up and my wrist is like dangling there, and so I had shattered or fractured my wrist. And I reach in with my other hand, grab the muzzle, give him the muzzle, and then they start to uncover the rest of me. And I looked at my legs and I'm like, oh shit, my leg's like going that way and this leg's going that way. Like, that ain't right. But I didn't think much of it because I couldn't really feel anything, because there was so much shock and adrenaline and everything else running through me. And finally, I started to cool down a little bit, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna pick you up and we're gonna move you." So they grabbed me by each arm, and as soon as they lifted me like 3 inches off the ground, I let out the you know, biggest scream I could possibly probably have. Some of the guys said they had never heard somebody scream like that before. Well, both of my femurs were shattered. One in 5 places, one in another place. Like, I have a picture in my book of the X-ray, and they put me back down immediately. And they used all of the litters for the other guys. I don't think they realized how bad I was hurt. I mean, some guys had ankles and stuff like that, but I had you know 2 fractured femurs, and I was just laying there, and they let me lay there for a good while they assessed everything else. Meanwhile, they finally get Louis out from underneath. They load him up in the striker. He had passed away. I didn't know that at the time. They come back over to me and they said, "Hey, we're gonna load you up, and we're gonna take you and put you in the striker, but this is gonna hurt." They ended up taking 4 guys, grabbed me by my legs, by my shoulders or armpits or whatever, and brought me over to the striker, and they laid me right on top of, like, half on top, right next to Louis. And I don't know, man. I laid next to him face to face, and it just was I don't know, it was just a shitty experience. I mean, no other way to put it. Um, I was happy that, looking back, that I knew he wasn't alone. I wasn't alone. I think he kept me alive, to be honest with you, because it was warm and I was like freezing, like in shock. And when they laid me on top of him and next to him, I felt like I didn't know if everything was gonna be okay, but I felt like I wasn't by myself. So yeah, that's the story. I don't know if you have any questions, but I kind of rifled off and I talked a lot.
Yeah, well, that's all right. I can't believe when they carry you, you don't faint or like black out
I did
from the
black
pain.
out. Yeah, no, I blacked
Oh
out
yeah.
several times. Even on the helicopter, they ended up driving those strikers out into a field, and they have helicopters that are specially designed that have, full medical teams on board. And so I
Hmm.
blacked out on there. I could hear Digo fucking just Digo going nuts, and you feel bad for the dog. But I will tell you, if you read my book, I did have a couple of Jesus moments, and I don't know what your guys' faith are, and it doesn't matter. I share mine, and I knew I wasn't alone in that rubble. The girl that came and visited me while I was passed out, it was not, I felt like God sent her there. And if you read the book and you hear that story, um, I don't know how else other, you know, I don't know how else other that is God coming into my life. So, and then she came back while I was passed out sleeping in the hospital later. I mean, I want people to know, like, I couldn't have gotten through this without Jesus. Like, that's another reason why I want people to know the story. But I'm sorry, I kind of threw that all in there, rambling on. But no, so I did black out. I blacked out several times.
Who put the muzzle on Digo?
I believe it was. I believe it was. I believe Chuck did. So Chuck, I think it was Chuck that came over to me, um, and got the muzzle. He bit. I mean, I think he bit a couple people too. The other guys got other versions of the story.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, it's all accurate. It's just their perspective of it. And I thought I was underneath the rubble for a couple minutes, but really it was, 30 seconds, 45 seconds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. Good old Chuck, man.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck, it's got to get done, right?
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. He's one of those guys.
You know, watch your throat. Go fucking put that muzzle on. All right, so that's a wild story. We talked about that story before on the previous episode that you're on. If you go back and listen to that and you read the book, he gets more into Digo and that whole thing, like Digo's physical stuff like that. So we don't want to give away everything. What we are going to do though is we're going to go ahead and take a break. We come back. We're going to talk about getting into business and the book and
Yes.
a little bit of that. So stick around and we'll be back. All right, some of our oldest sponsors are the Perkinsons down in North Carolina at Highland Canine Training. We love those folks. We see them everywhere. All the stuff that we do, we go to, we have a good time with them. But the fact is, they're really good dog trainers. They're really good dog people. They got full courses in person and online. They got a dog trainers course that you can go down there and learn how to train working dogs, pet dogs, everything. They do a lot of business stuff on there. But one of the best things they have is an online supervisor course. The course discusses topics such as proper selection of dogs, handlers, proper deployment, and FLSA issues. 30% off with that with the discount code WDR30. Great people down there. They know their stuff. Tacticalpolicecaninetraining.com is the website. Tacticalpolicecaninetraining.com. WDR30 for 30% off the online supervisor's course. Guys, you need to get on there and check them out. They are great. Highland Canine Training. Don't miss out.
One of the longtime sponsors of the show is Dogtra. Eric and I are actually both field staff guys. So Dogtra has been committed for over 20 years to crafting training collars to perfect the precise fit and finish and intuitive design and accountable performance. The 1900 SE collar demonstrates what they strive for, which is an ultimate dog training tool that is durable, dependable, and designed for the most demanding conditions. And I actually use this thing at the kennel. They have the new black one that has the lock and the boost feature on it, as well as the hands-free, which we use a ton. If you guys follow me on social media, you see that I use that during tracking, and we do that negative reinforcement trick, which is that's the collar that we're using. The other thing is the YS600. So funny fact, that stands for Yo, shut up. The number of times that you won't have to say it because it works every time. So use the discount code WDR10 for 10% off any single item over $200. And of course, They also have the popper and the dropper, which I think I have 5 of at the kennel I use all the time. So hit them up, dogtra.com, WDR10 for 10% off a single item over $200. It's no secret that Eric and I love Ray Allen Canine Equipment. We use their products every single day. The mission statement says it all: to be a world leader in quality and innovation of professional canine equipment for police, military, Schutzhund, and ring sport. To exceed our customers' expectations and to deliver on time every time at a fair price. We full-heartedly believe they held true to that, since it's our go-to one-stop shop for everything. Like, they literally have everything but the dog, the handler, and the patrol vehicle. Everything else they got it covered. So hit them up at rayallen.com, at Ray Allen Canine on the socials. They got a new training app and they got new product collaborations. Oh, and we have a new discount code, RAMWDR, like RAM, RAM, WDR, like Working Dog Radio, RAM, WDR for 10% off. Hit them up, rayallen.com. It's no secret that I love my ALM suit from Arnaud out at ALM Canine Equipment in sunny Las Vegas, Nevada. I've had that thing forever. Eric affectionately refers to it as my Carhartt suit because it's so thin. I've had multiple sleeves put back on it, send it back to Arnaud. He fixes me up every single time. The fit and finish is top notch, and it fits me like a glove. I refuse to go anywhere without it. I work Sport Dogs and PSA without it. I just did a trial in California, wore that thing. I work police dogs pretty much every day of the week, and then I will use it for personal protection dogs as well. So hit ALM Canine Equipment up on Instagram and Facebook, and then go to K9, letter K number 9, equipment.com, and use the discount code WD Radio for 10% off of your first order. And this is completely custom, so made to measure. Pick your colors, whatever you want to do. Arnaud will work with you. You can make it as thin or as thick as you want, but hit them up, ALMK9equipment.com.
Dreamed of having your own kennel, but don't know where to start? Horizon Structures has taken all of the guesswork out of building a kennel. Everything is pre-built to your specifications and preferences and then assembled and dropped off on your land. Boom, new kennel. Hooked up to your electric, hooked up to your water, put dogs in it that day. And those things are amazing. You've got to see them to truly believe them. Get on the website, horizonstructures.com. You can custom build. You can buy one that's already built, go off of their design, come up with your own design. They'll work with you. They always are running discounts on the website with ready-to-go kennels. The kennels are already ready to go. There's always discounts. horizonstructures.com. Check them out. Everybody, we are back, Working Dog Radio, broadcasting The Bite. Myself and Ted are here with Benny Olson down in San Antonio. I've been to San Antonio once. Ted and I were down there doing a HRD seminar, and I liked it. We had a good time.
When was that?
Canales on those guys. Man,
2018, probably 19, maybe.
Yeah,
19?
like that was like the very first HRD with Bexar County Sheriff's Office and Joseph Canales, and who's still a handler down there. Great dude. With the county sheriff's office. I think he's their like head canine. He's got to be now. But yeah, I mean, God, it was back in the day.
Yeah, that was a long. Yeah, it was our very first seminar that him and I did together. So, anyways, he just told a wild story when he was working with the command over in the war, getting a house basically demolished on top of him. So when I was there and when I was out with the program in 13 into 14, I think they were past the house IEDs. I think we were still real. They were still real big on pressure plates and a lot of route clearance work. And then just prior to my getting there, there was a real big deal with the Rangers. Some Rangers got blown up, and that was a clacking off vest. And I think that house was wired up too. That was early 13, I think. So I hadn't, obviously, civilian, they'd never heard any of that stuff. So, I'm assuming the 5 years it took you to get out was convalescing.
No, I ended up doing. I ended up doing 4 more deployments.
Jesus, how much metal do you have in your legs, dude?
I have 2 rods in my femur and then a plate in my wrist, but I ended up recovering from my injuries, like pushing myself as hard as I could, and I redeployed at the end of December of that year that I got blown up. So both femurs, I I don't know how I did. Again, I go back to God because I couldn't have done it without him. And honestly, like that's my childhood and all that stuff leading up. That's what the perseverance and the grit, is what I just not going to. I had doctors telling me you're going to be medically retired, this and that. Wasn't having any of it. And one of the quotes I put in the book is an operator. He's a good friend of mine now. The angry Korean is what I label him in the book. But he said, I would have never expected one of our own to come back from that, let alone you. And I butchered that up, but basically, because I was a master at arms, right? Like I wasn't a Navy SEAL, but I wasn't going to let anything keep me from doing that. And yeah, I went back and I redeployed.
That's wild. Did it change your height? Are you shorter or taller?
Man, actually, no lie. I know one of your legs is normally longer than the other, anyways. But yeah, no, it's my femurs. If I were to like lay down and you were to look at my knees, one femur is definitely shorter than the other.
That's yeah. I bet it's pretty interesting to see. How's the wrist? You still get pain in it?
Yeah, it won't bend a certain way, and luckily, so Digo bit me before the deployment, and my whole hand was numb.
Mm-hmm.
Like they couldn't figure out what nerve was doing it. And after that house blown up, and after I broke my wrist, I got all the feeling back. So yeah,
Oh,
it
look,
worked. Yeah,
it worked out. No,
no, yeah,
I got bit. I don't know. It's been a month, and at a seminar I was doing, and I still this here is all numb through here.
yeah.
I'm hoping that thing settles down a little bit, but yeah, it's still pretty numb. So you go back four more.
Yeah.
Uh,
Went to Afghanistan 3 times.
one dog each time, different dogs each time.
Different dogs each time. When I went back right after I got blown up 9 months later, I took over a dog because Digo was having issues, and they wanted me just to swap out Digo, and I ended up convincing my physical therapist and the surgeon to say, "Hey, I was good to go."
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think I was going to ever be 100%, but 95 is pretty damn good. And I just said, "Hey, I want to take this dog over and work this dog, and I'll help the handler that's having issues with Digo." So Digo, he would go into a building, come right back out. He just was not searching deep, and we don't know why. I mean, it could be due to a little bit of that explosion. He ended up not serving too much longer after that. I mean, he ended up being adopted out to Mike Ritland,
Okay.
Warrior Dog Foundation, and doing that. So
I think, yeah, I don't think it's a stretch to figure out why he wasn't going
Yeah.
into the buildings
yeah,
anymore. My third dog on the department, he sucked to begin with, but we went to a burglary at a industrial after a church or something, and the alarm going off freaked him out so bad we ended up having to shit can him
yeah,
just over the alarm, not getting blown up, just a fucking loud alarm. And
one instance
yeah,
can really hurt. Yeah,
Ted and I have talked about this before with each other. Is a singular learning event for dogs
Yeah.
is hard to overcome.
yeah.
That's a tough one to overcome. So who's the dog on the picture in the book?
That's Brando. That was my last deployment in 2012 to Afghanistan. That deployment actually broke me. I could deal with my own injuries and everything, but losing people is just a whole different mental fuck or whatever you want to call it. Extortion 17 happened. There's a whole troop of guys that I knew, and I like to call him my little brother, Jet Li,
Mm-hmm.
John Duandara. Man, we did everything together in the deployment or the work up to that deployment, even the conversation before they went out that night, and I just couldn't do it. I finished that deployment. I didn't want to go home because I just wanted to continue to work and fight the bad guys. But yeah, that broke me. I write in the book, contemplated suicide, and all of that. I was already addicted to opiates because of my legs. I can't tell you how many Vicodin I was popping just to kind of stay in the game, and yeah, it was pretty bad. So that was my last deployment with Brando, and a lot of good stories about him in there. Um, it was a fun deployment up until that happened, and then that happened, and I didn't feel the same.
Yeah, Ted likes to call dogs like that a giant swamp donkey. That dog is huge.
Yeah.
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 He's freaking
Yes.
huge.
Swamp.
So
Yeah.
who stepped in and told you, look, dude, what's going on? Like, or or were you self aware where you had to say this is it?
I was self aware. I told my wife, I said I can't do this no more. I'm ready to go back to the fleet, the regular Navy, and so that's what I did. Well, little did I know that the op tempo goes completely down. You don't do anything, and I ended up being the kennel master over at Little Creek, and had my own office. And man, I would drive to work and just cry I would pull over and cry uh, because I didn't know what was wrong with me. And over at Little Creek, there's SEAL teams over there too. So the helicopters are always doing training, and all I could think about is what I used to do, and why I left it. And I was a chief at the time. I made chief while I was there, and no one can see the chief cry. Like you got to be tough and leader and this and that, and a bunch of bullshit, because at the end of the day, we're human too. And I'd pull over and just, throw a pity party and cry. And then I'd make my way into work, pop some Vicodin. And I told my wife again that if I keep doing this, I'm probably not going to be around much longer. And so I said, I'm ready to go for a medical retirement. I talked to the surgeon, and he said, you could have done this years ago. Um, and I was having a hard time with my legs. Like without the Vicodin, I couldn't. I mean, it just hurt too much. So ended up going and doing a medical retirement. I had to fight with the VA a little bit, not too much. I mean, they were giving me like 10% per leg for my VA disability, just stupid stuff. And surprisingly enough, PTSD was like 50%. But I got medically retired, and I was like, I never want to do anything with dogs again. I don't want to do any of this. And I got my real estate license. I thought I wanted to do that. And then the neighbor down the street was like, hey, I will pay you to train my dog to do a couple things. It's jumping and whatnot. And they gave me like $500 because I worked with it a few times. And that's when I realized that you could actually make money doing things you love. I just kind of had to figure out, okay, do I still love this? And the answer was yes. I really enjoyed it. It was just a really eye-opening experience for me.
Yeah, Ted and I talk a lot, and I talk about it in my seminars all the time. Is if you want to, like, and I'm sure Ted's trained a lot. We both trained a lot of police dogs, right? But I
Yeah.
thought I was pretty good until I started training pet dogs, and then took that stuff and put it back onto the working dogs, and how much better I became
Yeah.
training the working dogs. I don't know if Ted, that's been your experience.
Yeah, and because it's reps, right? Like, and I mean, yeah, I had the conversation with somebody earlier today about some of your e-collar stuff, about why positive punishment doesn't work, because it inevitably turns into negative reinforcement once the dog learns how it works, and that's why dogs become collar smart and blah. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, you learn real quick that, and obviously with pet dogs, as they're not these super gnarly, working like shepherds or Malinois, you can't just nuke everything and everybody and all the dogs, and you have to be real like subtle, and you got to be very quick. And so yeah, it definitely makes you better for
Well, and the
sure.
reputation for electronic collars too, like they have such a bad name, bad rap already, and I've convinced some purely positive trainers, you know, that are fucking against e-collars, but they can see
I
it.
we talked about this before we started recording about behaviorists, and Eric's vein is going to pop out on his forehead. But I can't engage with those people that like the two ends of the spectrum. Like I can't engage with, and then I always kind of like lead with those purely positive people. I'm like, you do realize that like the second largest population of dogs in the United States are exempt from your conversation all the time, and that's hunting dogs. Purely positive people act like they don't exist. And all three of us know really talented hunting dog trainers, and they are almost exclusively negative reinforcement e-collar trainers. And positive reinforcement people just act like they don't. I mean, there's there are 3 e-collar companies in this country that are multi-million-dollar companies that survive just on sales to the hunting world.
Yeah.
And positive fucking reinforcement shithead trainers want to they're like, those dogs don't exist. Like, the fuck they don't. There's millions of them. I live in one of the largest states in the country where they exist. Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Kansas are like ground zero for bird and gun dogs.
Yeah.
And they are fucking everywhere. And there's some super talented trainers in that industry. But, when you mention that, they're like, well, that's different. That's different. I'm like, the fuck it is. It's still a dog. So I can't engage with those people. I refuse to.
Yeah,
No.
it's tough to deal with. They can't answer a lot of things. So, but yeah, I tell everybody, working with working dogs is easy because they'll kill for a toy and they'll kill for food, and no pet dogs will work for toy, and fucking half of them will work for food. So you got to become good and smooth with a leash and a collar, e-collar. How more finesse you get to be, and actually, really do make some significant changes in people's lives with the dog. You guys are probably like me. I notice it's crazy how many leads we get on at 10 p.m. on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
Or Sundays. And it's like, this are the people that they've had it. They couldn't do it anymore. Spend some time. So you come back, you figure this out. Patriot Dog Training is very successful. Been watching you a long time. I'm real proud of you.
Hope you don't. I don't make no videos, so
right. That's it.
I get people all.
Yeah. I just watch, just seeing you continuing to do it. I check in on your social media. You're still out there doing it, and like I said, you were one of the first that I talked to that I was like, all right, yeah, maybe I can. And dude, it was April when we talked, and August, I think, is when I started doing the pet dogs. Me and another trainer, and now I had I don't know, 15 trainers just recently. Got rid of a couple, but
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I had to downsize a little bit, but it's a self-fulfilling prophecy with some of these morons that I've had to deal with. But
yeah.
So where'd the book come? Like, what you thinking about for a while, or
2013, when I got out, I realized I did not journal while I was overseas at all.
Mm-hmm.
And my family has a history of Alzheimer's and dementia. So the first part was I didn't journal, so I wanted to remember some of that stuff. But then I think 2015 or so, my other grandma, they started developing dementia. And man, the last thing I want to do is to leave this world without being able to share my story with my children, and them being able to share it with their children, and hopefully do better in their lives, and it hopefully never goes backwards to where I was. But again, I go back to my mom. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. So 2013, I started, and I still have the laptop that I started it on, the Word document. A publisher approached me to do it, and then I chickened out. I was like, no, I'm going to get too much hate. Not going to do it. They're going to think it's for the wrong reason. And then in 2020, I decided to not give a fuck. Like, I just was like, all right, you know what? These people I'm going to have haters regardless. I have it with the dog training anyway. So, I just decided to go forward with it. I really wanted to share the story.
Did you get any brain injury out of the explosion?
I had a TBI, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit slower with, that's why I ask you if you're going to edit this stuff, because sometimes my thoughts, like I just like it to get it out of my head into words is sometimes difficult. And there's that. And, when we would shoot guns afterwards, or when there were to be a blast, or loud noises or whatever, like it feels like I go blank for like a split second. I know it's not a second or even a split second, but it feels like it takes me a second to like remember what I'm doing. If it's a really loud noise. I experienced that when I was in, and then even when I'm out, when I don't know, man, it could be a dump truck going by and something slams, and yeah.
Yeah, it's so I got a TBI from a motorcycle crash actually, and I tell people, I go, I wonder if I'm headed towards any dementia in my future, you know.
They can scan. It's crazy. They can scan. Like I went to NICO up in DC, Bethesda, Maryland, and they scanned my brain. They can actually see like spots and stuff where it showed like where it's TBI has happened. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, because I have about 9 concussions from wakeboarding, so like severe, really bad ones,
Jesus.
and
I think that's the whole reason why I didn't want to do the working dog stuff anymore, is just because of the chance of falling and doing,
mhm.
I don't know. Yeah.
So, how long did it take you to put your thoughts together?
Well, I had to find the right publisher. I had to find somebody that was looking out in my interests. So I did reverse publishing, and they paired me together with a ghostwriter, and I had already had a manuscript written. So he went through and just kind of like this podcast, right? I told my story. You guys came back in and said, "Hey, tell me more about this. Tell me about that." And that's kind of what he did. Um, I paid for it to get done, so no book deal or anything like that. Use my own money from the dog training, and uh, I just wanted to do it the right way.
Were you did the ghostwriter go, dude? Why do you have so many fucking commas in here? Like, why? It's like, dude, if I'm telling you, he'd be like, who wrote this? A third grader? If I wrote it.
No, that's what it said. Like that, I told him. I said, "I'm sorry if it looks like a third grader wrote it," and he just started laughing. I'm like, "No, seriously. Like I have like commas, double spaces after each sentence, like just run-ons, like the F word." We went in and we took out some swearing. Like I mean, I had to, because like I got kids that are wanting to like read this, and I didn't want to tone it down to where it sounded fake, but I wanted to leave some raw stuff in there, so I did. But
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's so I was in Connecticut, and if you listen to this podcast, everybody knows. And you talk to Ted and I listen to us instruct. We cuss, right? I'm not super apologetic about it, you know. We were in
yeah,
I was in Connecticut, and I did my PowerPoint for my e-collar classes 2 hours, and I told him ahead of time, I'm gonna cuss way less. Just so you know, I'm working on this. I'm gonna say the F word way less. So I got done 2 hours. I look over at my buddy Todd. He goes, they were counting. He
The
goes,
South Park
he
episode.
goes 154.
What's the South Park
154
episode?
times in 2
They had
hours.
they had a counter. I almost said they
Yeah.
had a fucking counter. They had a counter going.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
yeah.
they're just, and everybody laughed, and I'm like, I said fuck out loud. I go fuck. I gotta, but
155.
yeah, right. So, I, dude, you got to be excited, right? What was it like getting that first book in to you?
It was pretty cool. I'll show it again, but it just from the letter, like they did everything I asked them to do. Like the lettering's raised or recessed, and it has the colors of the squadron I was with. Um, I don't know. It's cool to see the story actually on paper now. I'm keep
Yeah.
looking over at it. I don't know. It's kind of surreal. I'm a little bit nervous because I said I'm not going to read reviews, but I probably will take a peek, and I'm sure there'll be somebody in there that's like, "Fuck this shit." Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, or they'll say I got something wrong, like, or I talked badly about a dog or something. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, they're always going to find something. So the book is titled "The Underdogs: Conquering Life with Man's Best Friend and SEAL Team Blank."
Yep.
From Chief Petty Officer Benito Olson. Where's this going to get sold once it gets rolling?
So right now it's on ballastbooks.com, and I'll send you guys the link directly to that. I would prefer if somebody's going to buy it off of there, because it's going to be on Amazon. The link's already there on Amazon, but as you know, they're gonna take half right off the top, and I would like to recoup some of the funds that went into making it. But yeah, go on ballastbooks.com and then Amazon, Target, Walmart, all those places.
It's Ballast, spelled BALLAST, books.com. We'll put all this in the notes. /purchase /the -underdogs /. But
Yeah,
I'm looking at it right now. But we'll put that in the show notes. So when anybody listens to this, either on YouTube or on iTunes or whatever, like they'll be like right in the thing.
cool.
So yeah.
So real quick, and then we're gonna get off here. But what was the hardest part of writing it?
The hardest part was knowing how much to put in there. The book is only like 240 pages. It's not very long. It's not that my life was boring. It's because I shared, you know, I didn't want to put every story I had of every dog in there. If I did that, it'd be, 500-600 pages. Remembering some of the details and going in depth was a little bit difficult. I think the most difficult part was having to rewrite the extortion part, what I was doing, having to like go back through when I got blown up. That was rough, and just that part. I mean, a lot of life lived in that time period. So it was all pretty rough having to rewrite that part.
And knuckle draggers like me and some folks. I hope there's some pictures in that bitch.
There's pictures. Yeah, there's 30 pictures in there.
Wow.
Actually, there's one of femurs. I got my femur picture in there, and I got my junk all blacked out, and I made the box extra big, so that way it leaves something for. I'm half Mexican, so it ain't that big, but I leave it up for interpretation.
Yeah, only the good parts Mexican, right? Dude, I'm really really happy for you. Is there any socials you want to plug or anything? Website or anything?
Yeah, patriotdogtraining.com. Patriot Dog Training Instagram. We talked about the speaking or whatever. I mean, I'm down for anything. I'm always happy. The one thing I miss, real quick, about the working dog world is actually working with the handlers. So if I could go back and do anything, I probably would have stuck around a little bit more in that, because the tactical side of it, like I know a lot about that, but definitely miss the police officers and the military guys. So
I'm sure there's been folks that's tried to drag you back in, like Al Pacino in Godfather 3.
yeah, I mean, as like a consulting basis, which before I wasn't interested, I'd say now I'm probably more interested than before. So yeah.
All right, man. Ted, what about you? Where are you at?
Ted_Summers on the Instagrams, and then Torchlight K9, letter K number 9, Torchlight Pets on Instagram and Facebook, and then working_dog_radio. After 200 something episodes, you figure I would get that. It still just doesn't roll off the tongue, but it's Working Dog Radio with the things under, like everybody listens to this knows there's that. And then we started a 501 also for Oklahoma teams called the Oil Capital Canine Fund, capital spelled with an A. And I'm going through the laborious process currently of getting that thing set on GuideStar, and it's not an easy process. Anyway, so that'll be January 1st when that thing kind of kicks off. But we're already got our EIN, we've already got our determination letter and everything else. But it's basically going to do what PK98 did, but it's strictly for Oklahoma teams. Plus, I'm bringing in trainers from across the country, and Eric is you're one of my first guys to bring down. And when you come down, if you're listening to this and you're in the Oklahoma area, this part's not limited to Oklahoma teams, but if you're in Arkansas, Kansas, Texas, wherever, the seminar will be free for law enforcement. There will be a limited number of like working spots, obviously, but yeah, you just show up. We'll give you key-call or cleat hours. So yeah, it's whatever. I mean, it'll be good. But that is coming up. By the time this publishes, it should be about January-ish. So yeah. Yeah. Other than that,
Good. I'm looking forward to getting over there. You know, Ted and I have known each other for a long time. We've been doing this podcast since February of 18. And I've yet to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He's been to Canton a couple times, but
yeah, I can take you and show you the hood here.
Yeah, I'll come out.
Every time I go to Canton, Eric's like, I shot a dude there. I got in a fight there. I know somebody that got shot there.
Mm-hmm.
I know somebody that shot somebody there. And I'm like, fucking Canton is like.
Yeah, and then he still goes to the ghetto gas stations and whatever.
I needed a Red Bull.
Yeah, he's the guy that follows. Got to follow the GPS right to his own demise. You're like Michael Scott. There's no turn. So
that's all
right. Benny, really, really happy that we could get you on, man.
Thank you.
We're going to talk to a couple people at some of these conferences about maybe a speaking gig for you.
Yeah,
I got a lot of people that would be interested in this, in meeting you, and I'll get on Ballast and get a book, and maybe I'll keep it with me so I can get it signed when I see you.
Absolutely. Well, all the ones that are on there are going to get signed. So there's like 3,000 of them or something.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Cramp up here.
Is
the wrist your writing wrist? The one you get?
No.
Oh.
No.
Oh, that's good.
That's a good one. So, all right, man. I really appreciate you being on, and
thank you.
And hopefully this thing will be a big hit, and can't wait. And I'm glad it's 240 pages. I ain't got time for fucking Tulsa.
Well, some of them are pictures.
Yes,
so,
30 pictures. I don't
Yeah.
have 30, dude. If it wasn't for Facebook, I wouldn't have a single picture of anything. I'm the worst. The worst. Man. The worst. So, all right, Ted. We'll see you.
All right,
Take
guys.
care, boys.
See ya.
Thanks.
Yep.